We have some things going on, chat. And first and foremost, we are going to talk about consoles in this State of Dev segment. My finger is disappearing up my corner. That is fine. It should be State of Silksong. Again, it's just, it is what I've been playing, streaming even, and I gave them the award. I am the bringer of shop, quite literally. I, from London, invited Team Cherry to come pick up their joystick from this office if they want it. It's up to them. I'll happily keep it. Alright, where were we? We were going to talk about the state of the game, and we are going to mainly talk about console, because for PC, mainly Fixmas is upon us, both PC and console, obviously. And we had updates, patches yesterday to fix urgent crashes and Fixmas just blatantly not working for PC yesterday. Otherwise, it's been mainly console stuff. Now, before I go on a little ramble about what has been fixed, as late as today and last week, and what we will also be fixing next week, let me start off with a little ramble saying that we hear you, okay, chat? Console has been incredibly well received. Thank you so much. We follow people playing. In the grand scheme, in the grand picture, it has been very successful. It has been very fun following. It has been working. But we have seen that some people are crashing when playing. There are crashes happening on both single player and especially multiplayer. We have addressed a fair few, like most critical single player crashes already. And we are working. We have actually addressed the biggest multiplayer crash as well. We are working our way down the list, and we are going to talk a little bit about why it may seem that nothing is happening even though you are providing feedback to us, be it in the QA side on Discord or in DMs to Jason and I. So, first and foremost, we were pretty open in the launch stream for consoles that when we are going to update consoles moving forwards, we can only do so in batches, pretty unlike how we do it for PC, because when stuff happens on PC, when shit hits the fan on PC, when the game crashes, when there is a major issue happening, we see that immediately in terms of getting the crash reports immediately and getting the raw data of what's happening behind the scenes immediately. So we can act on that immediately. And example, okay, so perfect example here is the 1.0 launch. If any one of you here were around, which I'm sure plenty of you were, for the 1.0 launch. Now, this is a scary story. For the 1.0 launch for PC last year, September, you will remember that for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of 1.0 being out, you could not launch the game because something pretty dire had happened in the Steam backend, and we had to urgently fix that before the game was even bootable. We launched the game, and not a single player could boot it up from Steam or Epic from PC. Not a single one. We saw that. We thought, that's a pretty big issue. We're getting the back-end feedback of why immediately. So we could fix that immediately. Or, again, as fast as possible, which was roughly 6 minutes, 7 minutes after we had launched. If this had been consoles, we would have waited 24 hours before any single one of you could even play the game. Because what's happening for consoles is that a lot of shit happens. Like when you crash, and the backend shits the bed, or the front end, backend, yeah, the game shits the bed, and we get the data for why in 24-hour cycles. So even if we launched, which we did on the 4th of November, even if we launched at, what was it, 1 or 2 p.m., we would have had to wait for the night to come in, for the entire batch of crash reports to land in our laps before we could even take a look at why the game was not bootable in the first place. Which is why we had to make very fucking sure, F-bomb, that consoles did work and did work very well out of the gate. And which is also why we are pretty confident in saying that, all things considered, console is getting a lot of care and it is working very well, because it simply has to. If we don't make it work very well, we can't act on it very fast. Of course, this doesn't mean the game is fault-free on consoles. We have crashes. especially on multiplayer. And what's happening here is that we had the very common, especially on Xbox, we had the very common EOS crash when people tried to play multiplayer on console for the first couple of weeks. And this was probably the best example I can give of, we see the crash happening. It is the same crash that is common between a lot of different people. So a lot of people are sending the same crash report, which then puts this crash report at the very top of a list. And depending on how common a certain crash is just in the count of how often it's happening, it is climbing higher up the list. And we get this list every 24 hours, and we work our way from the top all the way to the bottom. Because that's just the logical way to do it. Like the further up the top we work, the more people can play the game when that crash is fixed. Because that's the highest crash count. And so we fixed that EOS crash, and most people that were affected by that could play the game. Some people went past that crash and found a new crash that nobody else could find until now, because the bigger Xbox console EOS crash was the crash that happened before. So now that that's out of the way, some people could progress further in the boot up sequence, find a new crash, and then that crash ended up being the second highest on the list. We see that when the next batch of reports comes in. We fix that, you get the picture. And we have worked our way down to the most common crashes being gone, and the report list, the batches of crashes we see, are now different, and they are spread pretty evenly. Just example, I can't give actual numbers because I am not allowed to do that, so we are going to use example numbers, okay? Don't clip this out of context. Say, for example, the most common crash on console right now, both PS5 and Xbox, has 800 users seeing the same crash. The second worst crash has 720 people seeing that crash. The third worst has 550. The fourth worst has 270, and so on. You see, the numbers are, they're different, but they're also not like very spiky. It's a pretty nice smooth curve down towards the double or even single digit numbers. That's where we are at right now. Very low count per crash, and even the top crash is very low, all things considered, compared to when consoles were new. And above the 800 crash, you could have the, again, EOS crash affecting, like, example number, 75,000 people, which is considerably higher than the 800 just below that. So TLDR from that long ramble is that we have fixed the biggest crashes. We absolutely see that multiplayer is seeing issues still. There are multiple reasons, multiple crashes as to why that is happening. And this is kind of like, I hate to say if you are lucky, but if you are lucky, your crash when playing either single or multiplayer is going to be among the more common crashes, because that's where we are working from. If you are working, or if you are crashing with a very, very strange issue that only affects, like, literally a handful of people, I think I can't share the exact numbers, but I'm going to tell you that we do have at least one crash that affects single-digit numbers. Hopefully nobody comes in and snipes me from behind. I'll catch up to chat, by the way. Sorry, this is a long ramble, I know. I'll catch up to chat very soon. If you are among them, like among those who experience a crash that affects single-digit people, then yeah, that is pretty far down the list, and we are working our way down there as soon as possible. But there is also the chance that the issue resolves itself magically, or that something we fix from the top also trickles down and fixes your shit at the bottom. Because even if they are different crashes, the smaller single-digit crash may just be a side effect of an error that is part of the bigger crash. I say crash a lot. The word is starting to taste very weird in my mouth. So that is where we are at with crashes right now, and that is why, even though we see frequent reports from the same people complaining about crashes, we wish we could help you. But right now we are kind of tied to just working our way through the batch list from top to bottom, which is why if we come across as please keep reporting your crash, or we'll get to you as soon as possible, or please report your thing on the QA site. That is not our way to be like AI voice dismissive. That is just our way of asking you to provide as much information as you can about your crash, which, since you can't share save files with us from console, we would highly appreciate details about exactly what is happening when you are playing. Because all details you can give us about what tier you are in, what you were building as the crash happened, like which material we're working with, what building were you building, are you single, are you multiplayer, I don't know, like, is there a storm outside, is your network kind of like wobbly, are you losing package, are you building with blueprints, all of that garbage in a video or very detailed text will help us deduce crashes as we work through them faster. Because yeah, we get a bunch of Unreal backend data with this crash list I keep talking about, but having user experience, like having stuff explained to us in terms of videos or detailed text from you guys, can help us reproduce what happened when you crashed a lot faster than if we sit with the Unreal data text and from there try to like puzzle together, okay, what exactly was John Satisfactory doing as they built this factory? Were they building it's not very clear with Unreal alone if you were building a refinery or an assembler or a smelter. So we kind of work our way there, and finally when we can like start reproducing this crash that yields the same report consistently, that is where we can finally work towards fixing it. And again, if we have details from you in videos or hard text about what is happening, that helps us, skip a lot of detective work and get to the list even faster. That's the long ramble. We'll take a slight break. I'll catch up with chat and we can keep on yapping from there. But that's essentially the gist of the state of how we work through crashes on console. God, that word is starting to sound so weird in my mouth. 301 times so far. Yeah, I know, right? I think it's made me just, my mouth feels airy from all the sounds in Crash lately. So yeah, there you go. And so then, of course, how often have we been releasing console patches? Good question from the YouTube chat. We released one last week. We released one today. We're going to go into details about combined, because I see no point in us separating. We'll just yap very quickly about what both last week's update and today's update for consoles brought to consoles. And then we are releasing one more patch next. I almost said one more crash. God, we are releasing one more patch next week on the 9th, so Tuesday next week, for even more follow-up things, which also should handle the, for now, at least 2 most common crashes on the list, the patch next week. And hopefully more, again, depending on how fast we can work our way down the list. So we are releasing patches almost weekly. We are going to release one next week. We hope to be able to push one on the week of the 15th, 16th of December. But the team is going away. It is the holidays. Christmas is happening. We have a lot of people here who are not from Sweden, so people are going, like, they're prepping to go back to, families outside of Sweden. Jason is going back to fucking California and shit. So people are prepping to like pack up and leave, and there will be downtime for sure. From the week of the 15th until mid to end of January, there will be complete downtime with maybe patching happening again, starting like mid to end of January. Is the patch cadence right now. So yeah, mine crashed once and I had no idea why, but everything was fine and I only lost what I was doing them in that minute. Good. I say good, and this is good for a reason, because I need to cap something off here. If you are crashing and you keep crashing in the same save, what then? Like, are you just doomed to wait until it is your turn in this crash log? Is that the message I'm giving? No, it's not. Because again, first and foremost, your issue could be connected to something higher up on the list, so it might be fixed earlier than it would have been if, your crash was very unique. But also, when a crash happens in your save, the assumption right now is that that save is still playable. In many cases, you can just boot the game right back up and keep playing without loss of progress. That is still possible. or very minimal. Again, we're talking like minutes of progress, depending on how often you autosave. So all things considered, it's annoying, but it's still definitely playable. Do we have cases where people crash out of multiplayer specifically and then cannot rejoin that same save file? Yes, we do. We have cases where we have a session started by a host, a client attempts to join, well, they do join. At some point, the entire thing crashes. The host boots the save back up. It is playable, but the moment the client attempts to join or your friend attempts to join your save, it's game over. It just keeps crashing over and over and over again. The assumption is that there is something in your save right there and then that has been built under an unfortunate set of backend or network circumstances. So if you could roll back this save, like these saves are very, very, very few and far between, but they do unfortunately exist. And if they exist, if you could, voice break, if you could roll back this save, like even up to maybe hours earlier, there is a chance that you could still rejoin the same session, the same save file, and keep playing together, having lost like a couple of hours of progress. And why is that? That is because something you built along the way is interfering with the game now every single time as you boot up the save. In terms of like, putting it bluntly, you put two very complex blueprints down, or like X blueprints down. They are consisting of a lot of parts, and they are all over the place in big factories. At some point, something like you put something down and it screws something. Like when you put something down, you may have had a loss of network package, so not everything may have been like properly conveyed to your multiplayer partner in terms of this now exists in your shared world. Okay, you have the host, you have the guy or girl person owning the server. They put something down. As they put something down that requires a huge like amount of computations, like belts, spaghetti, whatever. If you, for example, experience, just by sheer dumb luck, you experience a package loss, network dip, as you put it down, if you have someone in the same world, their console, their like unit may not have gotten the message online from the from your shared space online that this now exists in your world. And so whenever the client attempts to join this save, the save cannot function because the client cannot make sense of something existing that was never conveyed to them through the net in the first place. And that's why you could either try to roll back the save by chunks of minutes or even hours, unfortunately, until that unfortunate build is just gone in the save's history, or if you go out and dismantle literally like everything until it works again, which I don't recommend. That's very boring and that's very unfortunate. That does exist. We're not sure if that's a permanent brick to your multiplayer save and the save still works single player, because again, like the host, the local person building it, does have its own like, what's the word? Local logic intact. But yeah, that is the case of why rollbacks by hours sometimes, in very, very, very few cases, may be necessary. Rambling. You asked for it. State of Dev is made for rambling about console, about Satisfactory. That's why we're all here. I could absolutely go back to Silksong and Final Fantasy XIV. I don't mind. I should add this game to Nintendo Switch. Who knows? You have all belts and lifts of same tier. Seems whenever placing a belt lift, the game goes through all of the same tier. Same issue almost vanished for me when I always use the min needed belts, so they are spread across tiers. Maybe. I'm not actually a surgeon or programmer in the game. So I'm not sure like if the computations are worse or compounding if you are using stuff from the same tiers or different tiers. But hey. Fix my own train crashes. Are you talking to someone in chat or? I don't know. I love the game on console. Thank you. So do I. Thank you. We appreciate you. How often the crash report... We should start bleeping my voice whenever I say crash. Whenever I say crash. What console players are getting crashes? It runs so well on Xbox X, it's also acting as a room heater when I am on, but no crashes, lol. Yeah. And we are very happy to announce that now in December, the number of crashes are very, 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 very few. So we're getting there. We're working our way down there, slowly but surely. It's my problem. I'm a new player on my first save, still in the early tiers, and sometimes the connection between a machine and its lift just disappears. I have to dismantle the machine and the lift and rebuild both because the link between them just vanishes for no reason. Nuisances. We're looking into it. Also important is that if you are experiencing a repeated crash when trying to rejoin the same save that is having this again bugged connection or whatever, try making a new session, just like for experiment. Don't commit to playing a new game, but just make a new session and see if your friend can rejoin that save. If they can, then yeah, that crash is probably on us to fix. If it's not, it may also very well be a network issue, because that is my final asterisk to add to this conversation, is that we actually get a surprising, relative to how many reports we get at all, we get a surprising amount as part of these that happen to be, yo, my internet died, so we can't play. And I'm like, okay, sure, should I come over and reboot your router? I don't know. So just to absolutely make sure that it's not on you, please make sure that you, your network and your setup is working before you complain to us, please. You would think these reports are in the single digits. It's not. Reports as in people writing to us yo, we can't connect to the internet. And I'm like, okay, I can't help with that. I'm very sorry. So yeah. That is the long and short of that. We are nowhere close. We are nowhere close to highlights, by the way. We still have shit to talk about. Because now we are finally going to delve into what has been fixed on console with last week's patch and today's patch. And we are going to start with... I'm just going to read off a list here that I have. Because, bluntly, I did not have time to memorize all of this from internal notes. So I'm just going to read off. We have fixed a rare crash happening upon initializing conveyor lists. Lists being, if you have a blueprint or just a save, you boot up a save or whatever, and the game has to start loading in a lot of conveyor belts or lifts at once. That's a list. So one of those rare crashes has been fixed. That is one crash gone from the list. GG team. We have fixed a crash that could occur when blocking players in crossplay scenarios. So physically blocking like a pioneer, you could just if you collided with your friend or if you blocked them with a certain object, the game could just go nope, you're done playing. We fixed that. We added half nudging to the gamepad build mode. You're welcome. Why it was not there from the beginning, you could catch me with my pants down. I don't know. It's there now at least. You can half nudge. Improved session discovery. We have seen a couple of reasons on our backend as to why people, even though everything is set up properly, people still could not find each other's sessions as friends between consoles if they were trying to connect between Xbox and PlayStation. So we have improved session discoverability as of today on crossplay consoles. So that is out now. We have a fix for the blueprint names in the build browser being filtered on display. We have fixed the filtered blueprint name not being serialized and saved. Now it's only filtering on blueprint name input instead of filtering on the fly. So yeah, filtering has been markedly improved. TLDR. We have fixed personal elevator collision on clients. We have fixed the report UI, showing that the text is too long even though it's not, because we don't want to lie to you guys. We have fixed custom color presets, creating on clients not properly sending edited by info. So if a client in multiplayer creates a custom color preset, this is now properly displayed, or who it's edited by is now properly displayed. We fixed non-friend players not being able to be blocked on the same platform, because that's also a problem. If you don't like playing with someone, you should not have to add them to your friends list to block them. That sounds very counterintuitive. Readability improvements across the board in the options menu. Audio, we have words. We have fixed a vibration replication on the Xenobasher, because when you swung your basher on the Xbox, not Xbox. when you swung your Xenobasher, the vibration could sometimes loop and keep happening ad infinitum. Not anymore. We have fixed blurs still affecting session names for restricted accounts, even though we are not the host on the PS5. We have fixed personal elevator interaction text not updating correctly for clients, again multiplayer. We have increased the max analog stick sensitivity for look input if you want to have an even faster camera. Profanity filtering in the wheel UI has been fixed for safe for work purposes. We have fixed hover pack vibration, same deal as with the Xenobasher. Sometimes it could just vibrate forever, or sometimes it could vibrate, and then if you pause and unpause, it could never vibrate again. Both of those have been fixed. Now it should vibrate as you fly properly, regardless of if you pause or not, and not vibrate too much. We have fixed boombox vibration when changing tape. We have fixed wrong vibration replication upon changing equipment. So when you change equipment, the correct sensation of vibration should happen now. It should match what you are equipping in your hand instead of your previous item. We have fixed a bunch of EOS authentication issues, again multiplayer related. We have fixed the let's see what's out there achievement, blocked by the Rocky Desert map for consoles or trophies in the PS5's case. We have fixed a it says in the bottom, we're back to crashes, a bunch of rare crashes in a variety of scenarios, and we have fixed a memory leak in the belt holograms. That's me yapping off paper. If any of that sounds familiar at all to things you experienced while playing on console up until today, you're welcome. I would be a bit more alive reading that, but I came off my my crash rant a bit more exhausted than I realized. And also, chat, I might take a BRB very, very soon, because my nose, you may or may not hear it, my nose is very stuffed. I am squeezing my voice out for you all today. Next stream, by the way, we'll do a bug talks. I'm thinking we should go back to I'll refresh both you guys and myself about what active bugs and issues we are looking at for 1.2. Because we had one of those in October and that was very popular and I had fun doing it, so we'll do another look at issues we are actively looking at right now, kind of deal for next week's stream. I don't think I saw streams. Anyway, we have one more thing to talk about in State of Dev before we move on, and that is that I saw DC Van in our Twitch chat earlier, almost an hour ago now, sorry, who is a very special figure in our community for the reason, I mean, besides being a very wholesome soul, he is also the grand host among in a collab of amazing hosts in holding the Pass It On event multiple times a year. And what is Pass It On, you ask, if you are new to the show? So I think this is the 10th time it's coming up. And because it is the 10th time, it is a bit even extra than usual. So Pass It On is an event that runs from ballpark usually around 2 weeks maybe, a count of days plus minus, where we have an event going. I say we have, DC Van has an event going on across multiple channels, where we have many builders of Satisfactory in a row, players in a row, and each of these players, they get 2 hours to build something according to a theme on I believe it is 20 by 20 foundation area. And you start up your save, you are on stream, you build if you want to be. You can also just play and have have your gameplay be restreamed by someone else. and you build something for 2 hours before passing the baton on to the next player. So say you are, just for a concrete example, say on the 17th of December at 4 p.m., you are the very first person in line to build something. You do that, 2 hours pass, you raid the next person in line, they build from 6 to 7, or sorry, 6 to 8, they build something for 2 hours, then they raid the third person, and so it goes, and so it goes. If there are gaps in the schedule, they are filled somehow with something else, but the idea is that there is a constant chain of people building something, filling almost 2 weeks worth of days. And from the 17th, let me get the dates completely right, from the 17th until the... Oh, did I put it up in this browser perhaps? There we go. From the 17th to the 31st of December, the Pass It On event will be happening for the 10th time. And if you type exclamation mark pass it on in Twitch chat, or if I simply link this in the YouTube chat, this is Twitch, this is YouTube, bam. You can register, you can have a gander at what this is, and you can just prepare to join in for the fun, because this is always very fun to follow, and on occasion, people from Coffee Stain, including myself, have joined. I joined the 8th Pass It On, it was my first time ever, and it was the first time Pass It On happened since 1.0 launched. And that theme was games. And so you're asking, cool, what's the theme this time around? Well, since it is the 10th time, DC Van is spicing it up slightly, and we are resending all themes from the 9 previous Pass It On events. So if you join or if you watch, you can look forward to building, or you can look forward to watching something being built, adhering to the theme of pirates, Christmas movies, the 80s, outdoor activities, Halloween/scary things, the 90s, Steven Spielberg movies, games that are not satisfactory, and children's movies. All of those themes are green for this one. Pick your poison. So a huge shout out, a huge thank you to DC Van and all of you who collab to actually admin and run this stuff. It is so fun to see, and every single time I wish I had more of myself to, like, you know, just clone and somehow like engage in the back end of this thing. Because I remember after, not the first time I joined the event myself, but the first time I was just there at all, present for Pass It On as it happened. I believe it was the spring. It was the Pass It On, the last one that happened before 1.0 hit. I was there, I watched it all, I saw it all, and that, together with the Sat Olympics that happened around the same time, or maybe adjacent to these, those were the two like points where I had been at Coffee Stain for half a year, maybe a bit more, and there I truly realized that holy shit, like there are some truly beautiful things coming out of this community, and there is some incredible fun to see, fun to have when you just see a huge chunk of people celebrating that this game even exists in the first place, that you can build as freely as you want, and how bonkers it is. The main takeaway, how bonkers it is to see what some people can fucking do in only 2 hours. Like, if you go back and check archives of the last events, which exist on the same Pass It On site, there are some very, very, very ambitious builds for those themes that people have put up there in only 2 hours. So that was my first time really being humbled by what this community does with our game and how they celebrate it and how they love it. Coming from a place where I also just have held some games super close to my heart, thank you. Like, holy shit, thank you. Always super fun to follow. Yeah, I can barely build an efficient factory. The things people build are insane to look at. Yeah. Speaking of, we're about to look at some of that very, very soon. We can see each other's and click join, but it doesn't go further than the loading screen before just kicking you out or crashing entirely. That is incredibly weird. Okay. To loading screen. If that is the case, we don't really have much we can dissect there, right? Settings-wise, like settings are settings. There's nothing like you do in the save, in the game itself, that we can like reproduce. Interesting. It's a warning, connection error. Sounds like EOS, which also could be on us. Cool. I'll bring that to our release manager first thing in the morning, because we are trying to be on top of console. Loading in, connection error. Loading in, connection error. Did you say you were on the same console? I'll just remember if you are or not. I don't have to note that down.